So I already did my top 10 favorite Expanded Universe Legends novels. And now we have to talk about the top 10 worst. Again, this is just my opinion, obviously. But here I have the 10 books which I found either boring, insulting, disappointing, forgettable. I mean, top 10 it was hard to decide what to put in here, because there are sadly more than 10 books which I don't like. You know, it's always sad when you have a franchise you love, but there are a lot of stories you just don't care for, but, you know, it's fun to make fun of them. To shit on them. That's fun. So let's do it. Alright, so this is similar to like the last one I made. It's hard to put a top 10 together, and it's even harder to like point exactly, okay, what is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. It's difficult, and my opinion on it, like in what order they would go, can change every day based on my mood, I guess. It can change, but these are just the books I really don't like. And I mean, does it really matter if my number 9 can switch to number 6? Not really, okay? So let's start with number 10 on this list. And number 10, my most disliked Star Wars books, it's Knight Errant by John Jackson Miller. This goes more into the disappointing category. I don't hate this book, like I know a lot of you enjoy it when I rant about shit. I do too, but this was just disappointing, because there is stuff in here which I really, really like. Same with the comic, which this is a tie-in novel too. But the problem is, the main character is so bland and uninteresting. It's not even that she's like a horrible character. She's just bland. Kara Holt, the main character, she's just uninteresting. And everyone around her is interesting, which just makes her look even worse. This book is also written weirdly boring. It has an interesting structure where it's kind of like a couple of short novellas that are connected, because Kara and these people she is with, they traveled through fucking Sith space from one planet to the other, encountering some Siths, because this is set 50 years, I think, before the Darth Bane trilogy. We have a lot of separate Sith kingdoms, and that story is interesting. How the different Sith are described is interesting. Like, the villains are really great. And a lot of the characters in here are pretty interesting, except for the main character, which is weird, and that's what makes most of the book boring, is because Kara Holt is just ugh. So yeah, Knight Errant. And it's also a shame, because I like John Jackson Miller and his work. I think Lost Tribe of the Sith, The Collected Stories, which was his second book, it's a lot better. I really enjoy those short stories, I really do, and how they form together in this single book, it's really nice. And then of course we have Kenobi, that's a great western, pretty much everyone agrees that's a decent book. But Knight Errant was his first novel for Star Wars. I don't know if it was his first novel at all, but for Star Wars at least, and just didn't really click. A lot of good stuff in here, but it's just disappointing. And on the same note, we get to number 9, which is Allegiance by Timothy Zahn. This book is boring as fuck. And it's extremely forgettable. I don't remember a single fucking scene from this book. I didn't even remember the bad guy. The fucking bad guy in this is Dizra, who is the villain in the fucking Hand of Thrawn duology, which I really enjoy, the Hand of Thrawn duology. I didn't even remember he was in there. And that's like a great connection that I should still have in my mind, but no, because this book is forgettable. It has an interesting premise. We have this group of stormtroopers, they go rogue, and then they decide to do like their own good stuff. They form the Hand of Judgment, basically was what they call themselves, and they start helping people, which the Empire wouldn't help these people otherwise, and that's a good idea, and I really like this idea. The problem is everything else. We also have Mara Jade in this. Oh, that's interesting. Mara Jade when she was young, when she was an Emperor's hand, when she was serving the Empire. That's gonna be interesting. No. Mara is well written. The problem is what she is doing is so fucking dry and boring and just nothing. I don't even really remember. I think she's investigating corruption in the Empire or something. I legitimately don't remember, and that's the thing, this is just a forgettable book. The Stormtrooper characters are okay at best. Mara Jade is written well enough because it's Timothy Zahn, but she isn't at her greatest here. Her plotline is just boring. And then we also have, and that's the worst part, Luke, Han, and Leia are in here for some fucking reason. I don't understand. Why? Leia gets kidnapped. Oh, we have seen that about 1,000,000 times, great. And then we have Luke and Han, who are written atrociously. It's incredible how terrible they are written. Because you think, oh, Zahn, he's good with writing the characters. Only post episode 6. This is set between episode 4 and 5. During the Rebellion era. The worst fucking era. And Han is just a fucking asshole. Luke is a whiny bitch. I'm annoyed with both of them. And their plotline is also not interesting. This was Zahn's second book after Outbound Flight, which took place in a different era, because his previous 6 books all took place post Return of the Jedi. And they were good. They were decent. Outbound Flight I enjoy. It's kind of 50-50. There is a lot of good stuff. There's some stuff I simply don't like. But Allegiance is just boring shit. A lot of people hate Choices of One even more. I think Choices of One also has bad stuff, but it has at least some memorable and good stuff in it, which makes it slightly better than Allegiance, which is why it's not on this list. But let's move on and let's see what else is on this list, because number 7 is another Timothy Zahn book. It's Scoundrels, aka Solo's 11. Yes, this is just Ocean's 11, but in Star Wars. And in concept, this should be on my top 10 favorites. I'm not like a massive Ocean's 11 fan, but this is the kind of story I would definitely enjoy. And it has a lot of decent stuff in it. Like I said, Timothy Zahn is still a decent writer. And the plot he has here, it's very good. The problem is, well, one, the characters. Because the Ocean's 11 aspect, it's like you have all these quirky characters with their own talents working together to get the money. Okay, fine, then we should get like Aaron Alston level of fun characters. Nope, they are all pretty forgettable. We have like Winter is in here, and Kel Tainer from Aaron Alston's X-Wing novels. And then a bunch of randos, which Zahn made up for this book, which are like, they are like okay-ish for short stories. For a short story, they would be okay characters. For this whole book, they don't leave an impression at all. And then we get to the biggest problem, and the reason this immediately gets in my top 10 worst books. Zahn is not a team player. He is such a self-absorbed prima donna. And he gives A.C. Crispin, the late A.C. Crispin, okay, she wasn't dead when this was written and published, but you know. He gives her the middle finger. He tells her, yeah, fuck your fucking Han Solo trilogy. Fuck you. Fuck your trilogy. Fuck everything you did. Fuck all the connections. Fuck continuity. I'm Timothy Zahn. I'm better than this. And so he has fucking Lando Calrissian in here. But wait. Han and Lando, like, they don't get along anymore because of A.C. Crispin's trilogy at the end. You know, this setup for Empire Strikes Back. Explaining why Han is worried when he meets Lando again. Nope, just throw it out of the window. Oh, but it's not a continuity error, because Zahn put in like, oh, first, okay, now Lando trusted him again after the events of Crispin's trilogy. But then Lando gets fooled again, and now he doesn't like Han again. That's extremely disrespectful. Extremely disrespectful to A.C. Crispin's work. I know a lot of people suck off Timothy Zahn because, oh, he's the great Timothy Zahn. Okay, Zahn, at least someone has to tell you, go fuck yourself. Honestly, this was insulting to no end. I like a lot of his work, but Jesus fucking Christ, once he started writing in the prequel and then in the Rebellion era, he just completely lost it. He lost it. Like, he's done. I don't even need to talk about his fucking terrible Disney canon books. Double vision! Blaster fire is coming at me! Double vision! So yeah, this is a decent premise and idea, ruined by Zahn saying fuck continuity and fuck the works of other authors, except if they are my BFF, Michael Stackpole. Yeah, his stuff I respect, but no one else, because I'm Zahn. This could have been a decent book if it was set before A New Hope. When Han and Lando were still friends, why the fuck did you need to set this after episode 4? Is it because, what would be the explanation that Han would need money and would need to make this, this thing? How about he just wants money? You don't have to set this after episode 4, which you almost... Oh, I don't even care. Let's go on to the next point. So this was number 8. Now let's get to number 7, which is The Old Republic Fatal Alliance. It's the first book in this Old Republic tie-in series. They are not connected, they are just standalones, but they have the branding The Old Republic because they are tie-ins to cash in. They are not all bad, don't get me wrong. This one is fucking terrible though. This is wow. Okay, Sean Williams. First off, nothing against the guy. From what I know, he's like a big Expanded Universe fan, and you can see this in the Force Heretic trilogy and this short story Or Die Trying, which he wrote with Shane Dix. He cares about continuity, he works in a lot of references, he brings back characters and stuff. I mean, thanks to him, we know fucking Dash Render was still alive, what he was doing, because it gets referenced in his New Jedi Order stuff. I think it was the short story Or Die Trying. But he is a fan, nothing against him. But this guy can't write for shit. I like Force Heretic enough, because I just like it. It has a good plotline with Norman Noah and a lot of other interesting stuff, good connections, but his writing style isn't the best. And holy shit, Fatal Alliance is not only terrible written, it's completely nothing. The characters in here, I don't remember a single character's name, except for Crash Nebula. There was a fucking pilot or something, or smuggler or something in here called Crash Nebula, which is the most ridiculous name. But he's in here, he's the only one whose name I can remember. There's like a Jedi, a bounty hunter, a smuggler, a fucking traitor, a Sith, whatever. I think his idea was, in the fucking game, you can choose what type of character you play. Like 8 different character types or something, and he just chose, okay, then I'm gonna do one character for this type, like one smuggler, then one Jedi, one Sith. Doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's way too many characters. None of them are interesting. None of them have anything to do. The main story is stupid. It's about a bunch of robots created by some lady, and these robots, they like consume things and create more robots, and they are about to destroy the galaxy because it's like the Blob. They just keep eating and keep growing. I don't know. It's garbage. It doesn't, from what I know, again, I don't know anything about fucking video games because fuck video games, I hate them, but this doesn't even seem to connect to the game at all. I know how Revan, Deceived, and Annihilation connect to the game, but this one, I think there's like Satil Shen is in here, I think, and that's like a connection, but that's it. Nothing, these characters are terrible. They're just fucking terrible. Terrible writing, terrible story. It's so fucking long. It's like almost, 500 something pages, almost 600. And it's just nothing. This book is atrocious. Okay, let's move on to the next book, which is number 6. And it's actually a trilogy. I'm sorry, Dylan, you again, you fucking... I know, you will scream in your piss couch, but I have to do it. It's the Jedi Academy trilogy. Okay, let's get this out of the way. I'm not a fan of Kevin J. Anderson at all. I think he's a horrible writer in terms of novels. He can write short stories, comics, young readers' books. That's okay, that's decent. On most of those, he has like a collaborator he works with that writes with him and gives him notes, which probably helps a lot. But his novels are just terrible. With the exception of Darksaber, kind of, I will give him that one was like, okay, I'm trying to write better. but his first outing with the Jedi Academy trilogy, it's a fucking nightmare. It's a disaster. This trilogy doesn't have a story. It doesn't have a structure. It's like 50 different side plots, none of which connect to each other. None of them have any point. The characters are awful. The dialogue is terrible. It's juvenile. It feels... Okay, the way I break this always down in one sentence, the Jedi Academy trilogy feels like the first draft of a fanfiction written by a 12-year-old with ADHD. I mean, if there's one compliment I can give this, then that the pacing is good. It always goes from one plot point to the next and it just keeps moving, but it's all nonsensical. It's like a little child in Sugar Rush just telling you, and then this happened, and then this, and then there's the action scene, and then he took out his lightsaber, and then this happened. And none of it makes sense in a narrative way. And then we get like, oh god, where to even begin? Filler. Just useless filler plots. Like Lando Calrissian visiting blob races. We have the fucking Solo kids getting lost in the space zoo for like 30 pages. And then they meet the fucking garbage king of the Coruscant Underground who brings them back to their parents. What the fuck is this shit about? This is never talked about again, by the way. And then it takes place while on the other side of the galaxy we have a plot with Admiral Darla, who's one of the most incompetent, infuriating characters of all time, because she's so stupid and psychotic and just nonsensical. And then we have stuff with the ghost of Exar Kun, which could be cool, which is a cool concept, who shows up halfway through the second book and gets defeated halfway through the third book. The third book, by the way, has 5 main villains who needs to get defeated, one after the other. Let me see if I can even remember. We have fucking this random spice dealer dude from Kessel. We have Darla. We have Exar Kun's ghost. We have some Twi'lek douchebag from the Maw installation, you know. And I don't get it at all. We have Fergan, this Imperial who poisoned Mon Mothma for some reason. None of this shit connects. And then we have Kip Durin in the middle of it, who I find to be an annoying, stupid asshole. I liked him enough in the first book. I'm gonna say the first book, Jedi Surge, it's the best one. It's not good, but it's still readable and kind of fun. The title is complete like shit. Jedi Surge. Nope. There's like 3 chapters. And they are at least only 30 pages. With Luke finding like 3 students. Not more. One of which is already dead by the second book. So, yeah, no. The worst one, if I have to pick one, it just gets worse and worse. I would say the third one, the second and the third are really terrible. I think the second one takes the cake because of this fucking, the Solo kids get lost in the space zoo plot, which is the dumbest fucking thing I have ever read in my life. Yes, I know, this trilogy has good elements, it connected stuff to the comics, and blah blah blah, it established this and this, yeah, I know, that's good, but the narrative and the story it has is just terrible. It just doesn't work at all. Let's move on to the next book. This is actually 2 books. I'm sorry, Dylan, once again, this is number fucking 5. It's Sieging Gambit, as Matt Wilkins calls it, aka Star Wars The Clone Wars Siege and Gambit. No, now I did a Matt Wilkins. It's called Star Wars The Clone Wars, Gambit, Stealth, and Siege. Okay, whatever. I'm just gonna call it Sieging Gambit because that's funnier. This duology, okay, I'm pretty sure the way it went down. We know Karen Traviss wrote the TCW novelization. Karen Miller came in, wrote her own standalone TCW book. Karen Traviss came back, wrote a TCW book. And then we got a duology by Karen Miller. But what I think, this story, Gambit, was supposed to be 1 book by Karen Miller. And after that, Karen Traviss would have come back in. You know, this ribbon they had going. But then Karen Traviss rage quit. She was done, you know, she was gone. Done with Star Wars, with us fucking telefans. And now, the people at Del Rey just told Karen Miller, okay, we still need a TCW book. Can you write another one? And she said, I don't have any ideas. I'm Karen Miller. I'm uncreative. I can't do anything. I'm terrible. And then she just took her manuscript and she just put a lot of filler in. She stretched the words out and then it just kind of became 2 books. This is fucking atrocious. It's a boring story to begin with. Anakin and Obi-Wan are infiltrating a separatist facility. They are developing a biological weapon or whatever the fuck. Boring. Her writing style is terrible. Anakin and Obi-Wan, just interactions are terrible. Everything takes forever to happen. The actual plot starts in like the last 50 pages. Before that, we get a lot of useless stuff. There is a double dinner date. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Bail Organa, and Padme. Obi-Wan and Bail are dating, and then Anakin and Padme obviously are dating. And then Anakin and Padme are washing the dishes, while fucking Obi-Wan and Bail are not in the room, and they are talking relationship shit, I think. It's so terrible. The only funny thing in this duology was a scene from Palpatine's perspective in his office when he was talking to Yoda and he thinks, "You fucking green muppet, I'm so fucking you fucking idiot." That was the only funny bit in here. These books also contradict episode 3, by the way, because Palpatine in these books already tells Anakin, "Yeah, I know you're banging Padme. Like, yeah, you're cool, dude. I know, I will keep it secret." So the first book is almost nothing, then it's 50 pages when the main story starts. The second book is basically Stephen King's Under the Dome with Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's terrible. They are trapped under a shield generator in this little small village, and they have to survive and use whatever there is in this village, and the villages turn into assholes. Siege Gambit, fuck it. It's terrible, it's not worth your time. If you don't like TCW, you won't enjoy this. I don't even think if you like TCW, you will like this. These books have just nothing. Just absolutely nothing to offer. They are just terrible. And now let's move on to number 4. Oh boy. This was hard. Deciding between number 4 and number 5, they could have switched places at any point, because I really hate them both. Number 4 is Children of the Jedi by Barbara Hambly. Captain Barbara Hambly. This book is atrocious. That's the only... I keep saying this like it's bad, it's atrocious, but really, this book, holy fucking hell. I have seen people trying to tell me, "Oh, it's beautifully written. It's such rich language, so colorful, so detailed. Oh, so poetic." No, it's fucking boring garbage. It's terribly written. It takes me like one page, takes me like 10 minutes. It took me 2 weeks to read this book. On my reread. Yes, I read this a second time. I was so close to suicide, you wouldn't even believe it. It took me like 4 pages, took me 40 minutes. I just wanted to end it. It's... holy fuck, it's the worst fucking writing I may have ever seen. Where it's like, okay, I can see how you may think this is some sort of like poetic fantasy writing. But the story itself is so fucking boring and stupid. It's simply stupid and terrifying, creepy, disgusting, horrible. Pick whatever you want. It's wow. Okay, so the only point of this book is to give Luke Skywalker a piece of fuck meat. To show that he's not gay, he has to get a girlfriend. And it has to be a Jedi, because... just because. That's how it is supposed to happen. It can't be Mara Jade, because this fucking idiot Kevin J. Anderson paired her up with Lando, which is one of the worst pairings. I didn't even mention that when I talked about Jedi Academy. That's so terrible. That's... oh. And now here we get fucking Callista. Literally a deus ex machina. She's the ghost in the machine. And at the end of the book, there is this Jedi student of Luke's. Her only character is that she is fucking hot. Like, she's long blonde hair, these incredibly long legs. And, of course, that gets described in detail. She fucking sacrifices herself. She sacrifices herself so that Callista's ghost can go into her body, and then she can be fucked by Luke. And Callista can be fucking smoking hot. And somehow transform her body into Callista's body, somehow. And no one talks about how fucked up this is. Like, this is legitimately creepy and disturbing. Luke doesn't care. Han and Leia don't care, Mara doesn't care. No one at the end who sees this cares at all. They are like, oh, Cray Mingler, that's the blonde bimbo's name. Oh, she's dead. No one cares. They are like, oh great, she's dead. Oh, Callista is here. Callista now has a body finally. Luke can fire his proton torpedoes into her exhaust port. That's fucking terrible. That's creepy as shit. It's comparable to like, okay, recent stuff, to this like Wonder Woman 1984, you know, this sequel, this fucking terrible comic book movie, when like Chris Pine's character gets like resurrected, but he's like in the body of like some random dude, and Wonder Woman pretty much rapes this random dude's body because like Chris whatever's consciousness is in him. And no one acknowledges how fucking creepy and terrifying this is. This is the same. This is horrible. And then the rest of the story, we have some fucking bullshit about a stupid super weapon called the Eye of Palpatine, which is an asteroid which shoots shit. And what? Who cares? We get a lot of talk about the ways of the old Jedi, which is completely bullshit and had to get retconned because obviously the prequels weren't out and this was not how the Jedi acted, and that's explained well enough, but it's... Children of the Jedi, it's horrible. It's just fucking boring. You will not enjoy this book. There are like 2 or 3 people on this planet who enjoy this book, one of which is Barbara Hambly herself. The other one is Matt Wilkins, and then some random person. You know what, it might be Kevin J. Anderson, because he's a Callista Luke shipper. One of those fucking crazy imbeciles. So, Children of the Jedi, fuck it, it's not worth your time, it's completely useless. If you really want to know about Luke's annoying, stupid bitch girlfriend Callista, just read Darksaber. It's not a great book, but it's decent enough. It does a good job of catching you up. Okay, what happened? Who is this person? Okay, that's enough. And then we also have Planet of Twilight, which is not on this list, but quick. A lot of people say Planet of Twilight is worse than Children of the Jedi. I think they are both fucking trash. It's like saying, what would you rather have, AIDS or cancer? And I would say Planet of Twilight, at least it has like, Leia has some interesting development in Planet of Twilight, where she has to come to terms with her Jedi heritage, and it's kind of it, yes, but at least that's something. Children of the Jedi has nothing. It has absolutely nothing. Terrible. And now we get to number 3. On the 3rd place of my most hated Star Wars books, we have... I wanted to put the entire Republic Commando series on here, because I'm not a fan. But then I realized the first book is like actually decent, the second book is almost decent, then with the 3rd book it starts getting shit. Complete shit. But I decided to only put one of the books on here. Republic Commando Order 66 is my most hated book in this series. This book is fucking shit. This book, oh my god, the first few chapters. It's, okay, chapter 1, we get introduced to this clone and he has a girlfriend. Chapter 2, okay, now we are following this clone and he has a girlfriend. Chapter 3, now we are following this clone and he has a girlfriend. And now we're following this clone and he has a girlfriend and she's a Jedi and she's pregnant, has a child born, whatever. I hate it. It's terrible. There is no story in here. We are catching up with these characters and then Travis just talks about their personal life and their romantic stuff and how they are fucking and sucking the shit out of each other, and it's so... what? And Matt Wilkins has talked about this. Imagine you are just a casual fan and you think like, oh, I like Revenge of the Sith. Oh, there's a book called Order 66, I'm gonna read it. You're like, what the fuck is even happening? Oh my god, this book is like the worst, the absolute worst. This is straight up fan fiction. She doesn't care about a story, a compelling story. She just wants to write about her characters, how awesome they are, how perfect the Mandalorians are, what brave men the clones are, and how every woman gets wet when a clone is anywhere near her, and they all fucking suck, and it's awful. It's terrible. I hate it. Why? And then Order 66 happens in like the last 50 pages. And then this stupid Jedi bitch who got fucked and impregnated by a clone dies in the stupidest way possible. And we have Kal Skirata, this Mandalorian guy, who was cool in book 2 and then he started sucking as a character. And maybe in person. And he's also terrible and a fucking retard in this. And also he now has like a MILF and he's interested in yeah, Order 66, fuck it, terrible shit. It's the worst Republic Commando novel, and I don't like Free Order 66 and this Imperial Commando. I don't give a fuck that the story isn't concluded because I hate this series. I would reread the first one. Like I said, that one is decent. With the second one, it's still okay-ish. It has elements that drag it down, and then it's just like read them all in order, and you can actually see Karen Traviss go crazier and crazier while writing. Because I don't even want to go into the whole Karen Traviss thing with her telly fans and what a crazy British woman she is. But yeah, Order 66, throw it in the trash. Doesn't matter if you read, it's nothing. Just absolutely nothing. Also, Callista is in this. Nice. Which brings me to number 2. And number 2 indeed. Number 2 of my most hated list is the fucking Bug War Trilogy, aka Denning's Nest. And the Denning's Nest trilogy, it's probably... it's the... Okay, like imagine you just read New Jedi Order and then you jump into this offensive, disrespectful piece of shit that they are trying to sell you. This is one of the worst things I've ever read in my entire life. Dark Nest. This is Del Rey. This is a fact, by the way. They went to Denning and they said, hey, you can write a Star Wars book trilogy set after New Jedi Order. We don't care what the story is. We don't give a fuck. You can do whatever you want. And Troy Denning said, can it be about bugs? Bugs? And then they said, can it have Jedi too? And then Troy Denning said, how about some Jedi who fuck bugs? And then they said, sold. Yeah, you can definitely do this, Troy. And then he wrote this. Okay, I can't even stress this enough. This is the beginning of the Denning-verse. Basically, Troy Denning saying fuck New Jedi Order, fuck absolutely everything New Jedi Order did, everything it set up, every bit of character development, everything about the Force and the philosophy. Fuck it. I'm Troy Denning. I'm the fucking boss now. This trilogy outright lies to you. It gaslights you to misremember events from New Jedi Order. It shits on it. Because Denning didn't understand New Jedi Order. He didn't understand the characters, which he admitted. He fucking admitted he didn't understand Jason Solo's character. And halfway through writing this fucking trilogy, he decided, oh, the only way his character makes sense is Virgia is a Sith. She's a secret Sith. Fuck yourself, Troy. Just fuck yourself, honestly. This is amazing. How they let this happen. This is heartbreaking. This was the point where I was like, okay, first time reading, because I read New Jedi Order, Dark Nest, Legacy of the Force, whatever, Fate of the Jedi, I read it all in order. After this trilogy, I was like, wow, this is terrible. I don't know if I want to continue. And then I read Legacy of the Force, and I never wanted to touch a Star Wars book again. But Dark Nest, it's the beginning of the end. It's the beginning of the Denning-verse. This is not a continuation of the expanded universe. This is not a continuation of New Jedi Order. This is a hostile takeover from someone else who says, fuck James Luceno, fuck Matthew Stover, fuck what they were doing, fuck character development. I don't care how the characters would act. I want to tell this shitty story, and I force the characters to act this way. And then we have a bunch of stupid idiots trying to defend this terrible writing, these terribly written characters that they only feel attached to anymore because they are called Jason and Jaina and Luke, but they don't act like them at all. For no reason other than Troy Denning not understanding the characters and not giving a fuck and trying to turn Star Wars into his own perverted Game of Thrones style nightmare world, which Del Rey realized was a fucking mistake, and they tried to backtrack with Fate of the Jedi, trying to make it more lighthearted, which they also admitted. Aaron Alston did on a convention before he died. And I didn't even mention the story itself of Denning's Nest here, because it doesn't matter. There are a bunch of fucking Killiks, which are these giant ants, basically, and then they have a bunch of young Jedi fuck them in drunken orgies. And then Han has a line, why do it have to be bugs? Because, I remember Indiana Jones, that's a reference, And I don't, I can't even, this is horrible. It's fucking horrible. And people say, oh, is a transition into the legacy era. No. It's a hostile takeover. He lies to you. What happens in New Jedi Order? Because he probably never read it. I started this as a joke, saying that Denning, he probably never finished reading New Jedi Order because of how he treats the characters, how he shits on character arcs, how a lot of the stuff out of New Jedi Order is never mentioned again. Like the Boffins swearing like war on the Yuuzhan Vong, even after the Yuuzhan Vong war ended. They swore like to destroy all Vong. Or like these two Wookiees who wanted to continue Chewie's life debt, that also never gets mentioned again. It's like, and I started it as a joke, but honestly it makes too much sense. Denning never read New Jedi Order past his own book. I don't think he ever read Traitor, because if he did, if he understood Traitor by Matthew Stover, then he would know that this is that the way he writes Jason in here, and especially how he writes Jason in the next series, doesn't make any fucking sense at all. Or if he read The Unifying Force, which he probably also didn't. Anyway, Denning's Nest, garbage. Absolute garbage. You will get absolutely nothing out of this trilogy. Nothing at all. Every character you liked in New Jedi Order gets turned into a mindless drone. They get absorbed into a fucking bug hive mind. They are not the same characters. The worst part, the fucking Jaina and Jack love triangle. Troy Denning fucking hates Jack Fell because he's a childish Jaina Zek shipper. He read Young Jedi Knights when he was fucking 50 and he masturbated to it because the romance reminded him of him and his wife and how they met, which isn't creepy at all. Yeah, right. And it's so horrible. This is a 50-year-old man writing his fanfiction. I want these two characters to be together. I read about them in these books and I want them to fuck. And fun fact, no one at Del Rey or Lucasfilm agreed with Denning. They flat out said, no, Jaina and Jack Fell are gonna get together, which then Aaron Alston had to work with in Legacy of the Force. Anyway, speaking of anal waste, let's talk about number 1. I already slightly touched on it. Number 1 is Legacy of the Force. This is the worst written book series I may have ever read in my entire life, not just in Star Wars, but in general. And again, this is 9 books. I'm gonna highlight 1, Invincible, the worst final to any series ever. This includes season 8 of the TV show Game of Thrones, which I don't care about, I haven't watched, but just as a reference, because everybody talks how fucking terrible it is. This book series, 1, it's uncreative as hell. It's basically, hey, let's just do the prequels again. And then we throw in a little bit Corellian trilogy, because the Corellians are doing shit again. We bring back the Sith. We have Jaina and Jason and Tahiri and all these characters in here, which are not the same characters except for the name, because Troy Denning doesn't give a fuck about characters. He uses them as puppets. He wants to tell this uncreative, lazy, shitty story, terribly structured story, and he forces these characters to act a certain way. This series killed my love for Star Wars. Legitimately. I read it all in order. From New Jedi Order onwards. I skipped a lot of the Bantam stuff on my first read, but New Jedi Order onwards I read completely in order. Then I got to Dark Nest, I wanted to fucking end. Then I read Legacy of the Force, hoping it would get better because we had Aaron Alston, and I was like, I already knew about Karen Travis and how she wrote and how she behaved, and I was like, okay, let's give her a chance. First off, Betrayal. It's only better because it's written by Aaron Alston and he can write. Then we get to But the story is still fucking shit. It doesn't make sense for any of the characters to act this way, especially not for Jason. We get the fucking Vergia retcon, which you idiots can say all day. Oh, but it's a dark lady saying, it's Lumaya saying that Vergia was a Sith. Obviously, she's just manipulating. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You fucking imbecile. Troy Denning said, no, Vergia is a Sith. This is official. The fucking guidebook, Jedi vs. Sith, Vergia is a Sith. The Legacy comics, Vergia is a Sith. Vergia is officially a fucking Sith. It doesn't make any sense timeline-wise. I can make an entire video why the timeline wouldn't add up if she actually trained under Palpatine. Doesn't work at all. It also doesn't work why she would even team up with Lumaya. It completely contradicts her character from New Jedi Order. Because her character in New Jedi Order is not a complex character, and what she is teaching Jason isn't complex at all. It's basically stop acting like a fucking bitch. Okay, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but still, it's not. I don't even get how can you misinterpret a character so fucking hard that you turn her into a Sith. Okay, literally, imagine you are doing episode 7, okay, and then you reveal Yoda in episode 5 was in reality, he was a Sith Lord. He secretly was a Sith Lord. And everything Yoda did in the original trilogy was to turn Luke Skywalker to the dark side. That's this Vergia twist. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It pisses on the character. It just doesn't work at all. And that's not the worst. Then we get to the story structure, because there is no story structure. Every author in this just does his own thing. We have Aaron Alston talking about Wedge Antilles and then his daughter and whatever the fuck. None of this matters. None of this gets referenced in the other books. Completely useless. Then we get Karen Traviss with her fucking Mandalorian fetish. Legacy of the Force was, my first books by Karen Traviss, her 3 books. I wanted to give her a chance. First book, Bloodlines. I think like 2 pages in, Ben Skywalker says, man, being a Jedi is fucking terrible. I wish I was a Mandalorian. They are so fucking awesome. Man, they are so cool. And then I just wanted to fucking, throw the book in the trash. Yeah. Every single character in Legacy of the Force is holding the idiot ball. Every character is a fucking retard. They make decisions that don't make any sense. Plot points that don't make any sense. A story structure. Sometimes we get these plots with Aaron Alston, who he writes about the fucking Wedge, and then we get the Mandalorian plot with Boba, which is useless and stupid. And then we get just Denning being his usual perverted self. He writes the Jedi basically like Sith, which is his thing, because he even says, I think pain is the greatest teacher. Denning also worked in a mine. He's basically Darth Bane. That's what I'm trying to say. He has no understanding of the Jedi or the Jedi philosophy or the Force or anything. Denning legitimately thinks like a Sith would, and all his Jedi act like Sith. They are Sith in all but name. I don't care anymore about Luke, Mara, Han, Leia, Jaina, Jason. They are all turned into depressing, out-of-character assholes I could not give a shit about. And then I see people, oh my god, it's so heartbreaking when Jason and Jane are fighting at the end. They were so young, they were twins. They were so close. How can they do this? It's like, Jesus Christ, you're fucking retarded assholes. This is Troy Denning emotionally manipulating you. Putting in, oh, isn't this cute Jason quotes when he used to make jokes at the beginning of each chapter in Invincible, the last book. Because he can't write Jason's character like that you actually feel anything. So he has to put in these fucking quotes to emotionally manipulate you. Because he's a fucking terrible author. Invincible might be his most perverted book. Like, legitimately. Boba Fett talks about, oh, Jaina, I heard you kissed bugs. Where he tries to show off like Boba and Jaina now have like a buddy cop thing going on. It's embarrassing. By the way, the whole plot point about Jaina training with the Mandalorians is fucking retarded. Because she gets turned into a fucking spoiled Jedi princess, as it's called. Why the Mandalorians? What the fuck is this about? Not to mention that Jaina is barely a present in the other books in this fucking series. She becomes the main character in the last 2 books. And she still has the least amount of screen time, of page time, what the fuck do I know. Most of the time is spent on Ben Skywalker in the first few books and even in the last 2, despite the fact that in the last 2 books he isn't the main character. He's a side character. And he has a side story. But this side story is still longer in page count than the fucking Jaina plot. New Jedi Order put the characters in misery. That's true. There were bad things happening. But it was like, okay, bad shit happens. Really emotional stuff, like their youngest child dying, Han's best friend dying. But at the end of the day, there was light at the end of the tunnel. There was hope for a better future. The people, they learned something. They developed as people, as characters. The galaxy changed in positive ways. Something better came out of this horrible nightmare. The Legacy of the Force series is just misery porn. It's misery for the sake of misery. There is no hope. There is no light. I've actually found a quote by someone. I have to quote this right now because this is just chef's kiss. It's perfect. Okay, it says, it turned the Star Wars EU from a place where it could get dark, but had hope, into a place where nearly everything you loved turned despairing or perverse, and the hope for the future was nearly lost completely. Should I just go on talking about how fucking terrible Legacy of the Force is? How about I tell you some of the stuff it contradicts with New Jedi Order? Basically, it shits on stuff that New Jedi Order was setting up. Legacy of the Force. Jason becomes a Sith Lord for completely unclear and contradictory reasons. First, he becomes a Sith to save Luke's life because he had a vision that Luke would die if he doesn't turn to the dark side. Later on, he tries to murder Luke for no reason. That's never explained. Then he says, oh, I saw Darth Krayt ruling the galaxy, and I tried to stop him, I tried to save my daughter, I blah 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 blah, who the fuck cares? In New Jedi Order, Vergia is a representative of the old Jedi Order. She teaches Jason the same philosophical lesson that Yoda taught Luke in Empire Strikes Back, and she is filled with pride when Jason chooses a path of compassion and peaceful coexistence rather than destruction. Legacy of the Force. Vergia was a Sith the whole time. She was trained by Palpatine in a timeline that doesn't make any sense. And the things she taught Jason were all a part of some nebulous long con to turn him to the dark side for some reason. New Jedi Order. Coruscant has been wrecked by the Yuuzhan Vong War and will be uninhabitable for decades. The seat of galactic government is relocated to the planet Denon, and Luke's Jedi Order establishes their new headquarters on Ossus. Legacy of the Force. Coruscant is fine. It's the galactic capital again, and the Jedi have a temple there, just like the prequels. New Jedi Order. The Bothans declare Arcray against the Yuuzhan Vong and vow to wipe out their entire race, even after the war is over. Legacy of the Force. That's never mentioned again. New Jedi Order. Lowbacca and Lampeveru vow to take up Chewbacca's life debt and stay by Han Solo's side like their uncle/father did. Legacy of the Force, never mentioned again. New Jedi Order. Tahiri Vela may be the character Denning raped the most, next to Jason, aka Bully McGuire Solo. In New Jedi Order, Tahiri was brokenhearted over Anakin Solo's death, but she worked through it, got over it, and emerged as a stronger character who had fully integrated her Jedi and Yuuzhan Vong personalities. As a symbolic representation of these major changes to her psyche, she started wearing shoes after going barefoot her whole life. Legacy of the Force. Tahiri is still pinning over her dead high school sweetheart as a grown woman in her 30s, to the extent that she will become a Sith, just so she can catch a time travel-induced glimpse of him again. She's back to being barefoot, again, with no explanation. Also, she's now a pedophile. This video is twice as long as my favorite books because I have to shit on Legacy of the Force because holy fuck is this book series atrocious. It's complete and utter fucking garbage. I have no idea. How can you people say, oh, I hate the Disney trilogy, but you say this, Legacy of the Force, is the creme de la creme of the fucking expanded universe. This is garbage. This is almost on the same level as the Disney trilogy. The only way it could have been worse is if instead of Jaina suddenly becoming the hero out of nowhere with no setup at the end in like the last 2 books, like instead they bring in Ken Palpatine. He returns. That actually would have been kind of fucking awesome. But I don't get it. I don't get how anyone can defend this fucking series. It's shit. It's pure and utter shit. Well, I've been ranting for almost an hour. Let's end it here. I have ranted about Legacy of the Force for 10 hours already on my channel. If you want more about that, yeah, you can check it out. But yeah, garbage. Shit. And everyone who thinks, oh, this is actually a great series, it's so well written, and the characters are so well, there's good development, and the story makes sense, and the characters make sense. You are absolutely fucking wrong. You are objectively wrong. Yes, I said it. Objectively wrong. This series sucks my balls. This is fucking trash. It's... Goodbye. Fuck Legacy of the Force. Final words. Fuck Legacy of the Force.